Being a black man in America can be like playing Streets of Rage 2 on the hardest difficulty. So many things are coming at you, and you have to keep fighting through those levels of life to succeed. Recently, in social media land, there's been a couple of videos that talk about why black men are not attending college. As a black man who graduated college himself with a bachelor's degree, I understand that it is difficult, but it is doable. In this video, we're going to watch a couple of content creators who give their opinions on why black men are not attending college, and I would do so as well. Let's get to it.
Apparently, black men are not attending college, and this is a horrendous trend. The number of black men at four-year colleges has plummeted, and at Howard University, there are as many non-black students as there are black men. Howard is just 19% black men. There's an array of reasons why this is happening, but the number one thing sociologists point to is something they call the belief gap, that a lot of young black men don't believe that they can or should be able to handle college intellectually or financially. Guys, college is a critical part of gaining the intellectual skills you need to get into the middle class. Black women have known for years and years that they need degrees to overcome racism and misogyny and get as far as they can in life, and they have become the most educated demographic in the country. But leaving black men out of that trend means a lot of potential wealth that could go into the black community won't go into the black community, because people who could have become middle class professionals and intellectuals will not be able to make that leap.
Shout out to the content creator. He made a very good video. I'm going to dissect it a little bit. He talked about many black men not feeling intellectually or financially ready to go to college. Let's stick with the intellectual part. There's a lot of black men out here who feel that, you know what, college is not for me. Maybe I'll go to a trade school. And that's the wrong way of thinking. You have to understand that anybody can go to college. It all depends on what you're going to do to make sure that you graduate. I was an average student in high school, and I graduated college summa cum laude with a 3.75 at grade point average. Why? Because I started to understand that all I need to do is to listen to the professor and regurgitate what they want and give them exactly what they want. And I passed. Financially, he mentioned Howard University. Howard University tuition can be $40,000 to $60,000 a year. Why am I gonna pay all that? I'm not doing that. That's crazy. No, when you can go to a community college and you can probably spend $4,000 a semester, which is $8,000 a year, and get Pell Grants and whatever state grants that you get. Plus, you can be able to earn scholarships while you're in school. So now your school is totally free. So Howard University, I wouldn't use that, but that's what he used in the video. And hey, I commend him and I salute the guy for making that video. Then he talked about black women being the most educated. Cool. I'm okay with that. I love black women, all right? And I want all people to be educated. Now, when they're talking about being the most educated, that could come with a lot of debt. Educated in what? Okay, did you go to state schools or community college schools and you have no debt? Or are you in mounds of debt? So you really got to ask yourself that question when they say that they're the most educated. How much debt do they have? Hey guys, I want to take this short break to thank you so much for watching this video up to this point. I really appreciate you. Can you please like the video? Make some comments, subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you'll be notified for any videos that I drop. Thank you for watching. Back to the video.
I want to hold conversation and discussion around the topic of black men are not going to college, higher education. Now, the first rebuttal that I know I'm going to hear is go into trade, start a business, go directly in the workforce. And so I'm going to approach this conversation from a direction in which we have not heard or considered a lot, and I think we need to consider this. First one being industrial education is not easy. Period. Going to trade school is not easy. Also, that conversation of going directly into trade is not keeping up to date with the automation systems that are dominating industrial education or the vocation space. The second point in which I want to hold this conversation is the literacy crisis. I don't think people understand the impact that the literacy crisis has in one's life. Because we think about people not being able to read or children not being able to read, and we think about like the kindergarteners or the fifth graders or even middle schoolers. What happens when high schoolers do not know how to read? They're still graduating. They're still getting passed through the system. And so now you're going to have a huge population of people that are functionally illiterate. In the city of Houston, 1 in every 3 adults are functionally illiterate. Also, the cost of illiteracy by 2030, I believe, is going to be $1.12 trillion. The next point that I want to make is the social impact that this will have, and that this currently does have. And unfortunately, we learn far too late about the social impact of not being intellectually sound as your peers. This doesn't just affect your friend group or networking. We hear a lot of just start a business, just network, just go to these conferences. They're speaking in a certain type of jargon. And professional jargon, or to be middle class, is going to be corporate jargon for the most part. We need to wrap our arms around our Black men, especially as they are in spaces of higher education, as they're in corporate America, or in the workforce, whatever the case may be. Because not only the intellectual effect that this will have, or does have, the workforce effect that this currently does have, but a huge piece of the puzzle that people are not talking about is that social piece. And what happens with that effect of the social piece? You're going to see a lot more of red pill content that the Black men and Black boys are watching. Because when you don't foster that intellectual critical thinking on, is this good, this is bad, from a very early age, especially from students who are struggling from reading and writing comprehension, that also extends to visual media comprehension.
I agree with a lot of things that she was talking about. She was cooking in this video, and I really love it when women are educated. Very, very good. But let's dissect it a little bit. One of the things that she mentioned was that trade schools are not easy, and I really agree with that. I feel that pushing people towards trade schools without really educating them on what's going on, especially with today's world, is a bad idea. A lot of these trade schools are expensive, and you can come out with mountains of debt and not really have the education that you would want. So you gotta be real careful with that. The next thing she talked about was the illiteracy rate within children and grown adults. Statistics show that about 79% of Americans have literacy rates where they can be able to function at jobs and understand the job. And it can be many reasons why that 21% are illiterate. Could be because they have LDs, which is learning disabilities, or different situations that will cause them not to be able to function properly. But we have to understand that they are out there and we have to talk about them. When I taught 3rd grade in New York City, I saw a lot of students who could not read. And it's multiple reasons for that. Could be that they have a learning disability, and it also could be that coming from their environment at home, it wasn't really championed of being able to read properly and comprehend properly. So we have to really focus on that. But when it comes to grown adults, it's always when you have situations where they just kept getting passed and passed and passed, and once they finish high school, they can't really read. I did a video a couple of weeks ago about a young lady who just was passed on, and when she went to college, she couldn't read at all. She was a functional illiterate person, and it's very, very sad. I'm gonna put that up, pin that video, so check that video out. I really appreciate it. Another thing she talked about was corporate talk. I always say that when it comes down to the way that they talk in corporate environments, it's like they use the King's English, and you need to make sure that you let them know that you understand it. If you understand what they're saying, let them know that. Let them know that. And if you don't understand, ask questions. Don't be afraid to say, hey, look, you know what? I don't understand it. Can you enlighten me so that I can understand it? The last thing that she talked about was the social piece. And I agree with her about that, especially with the red pill content. For me, I consume red pill content. I really appreciate all my brothers and sisters who trying to give people the game, trying to give men the game and women the game and all that stuff. But it comes at a cost. You have a lot of people who consume this content who may not really understand a lot of the things that they're trying to say. You can have groups of men who who will low-key hate women because they feel that they are inadequate. They feel that all these women just want men who have six packs or six-figure income and all that stuff. And then they'll feel that they are lowly and they can't do anything about it. So they just start getting angry and angry and angry. And we don't want that. We want to be able to let men know that, listen, you are special, you are valuable, and women too. You all are valuable, you all are special, and we have to be able to come together. When I started college and my college career, I started to understand that a lot of the things that I was looking at in the Red Pill content, I had to look at it at a different lens, and I had to listen to say, wait a minute, what are these guys doing? Why are you talking about all this red pill, or low-key hate women, and like you talk about you want men to succeed? Really and truly, yes, men can succeed without women, but we need women. Let's be honest now. We need them, and we need to be educated so that we can figure out how we can mesh together. We are social creatures, and men, let's be honest, unless you flow the other way, you want a woman. So let's educate ourselves on what's going on so that we can be beneficial and have a legacy.